Hello, people. Hello, people. What is going on? Happy New Year, folks. Happy 2024. Hope everybody had a fantastic holiday, be it Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Hope you had a great end of 2023. And here's to a great 2024. But here we are, folks, once again. Let's talk about Dofus. It's a little bit of an off-topic video. It's more in line for PC Dofus, but it does pertain to Dofus Touch. And that is because we are going to be talking about Dofus Unity, but more specifically, Dofus Unity art direction. It's been a lot of discussion. There's Benjamin right there. What's up, Benjamin? Haven't seen you in a while, but yeah. So Dofus Unity. A lot of people are talking about the characters. Some love them, but a lot of people aren't too keen on it. Aren't too keen on them. And I'm here to explain. Give them a little bit of context. I'm not here to convince you that they're awesome, they're great, they're better. You're entitled to your own opinions. I personally love this direction. I'll explain why, but I want to make sure that if you don't like them, you don't like them. I'm not here to convince you. But I'm here to shed a little bit of light of why Ankama decided to do this and some of the reasons. So let's talk about anime. Personally, when I think of Dofus, I don't think of anime at all. Sure, it does have anime undertones. You can see inspirations and hints of anime, but I wouldn't necessarily call Dofus as an anime game, right? If we look at anime, let's just type in anime into Google, right? Images. When I think of anime, I think of this stuff, like this chibi, cutesy style. And what is this? Spy X Family. I'm not a huge anime person. I watch a little anime here and there, but I'm not a huge fan of anime personally. But when I think of anime, this is what I think of, right? This kind of like style, this look where everybody has like these super rendered eyes and crazy hair and kind of like the same pointy face. There's this chibi style. Of course, you got Naruto. Who else? You got My Hero Academia. Very anime-ish. Even Pokemon, I would consider that like old school anime. Like this stuff like this is anime to me. This stuff where it's like super rendered, but it's still like this huge eyes. But the eyes look like glass eyes. They have like a ton of reflections in them. For me, that's anime. Here's some more examples, right? Very Japanese, very anime. Of course, Dofus is made by Ankama, a company out of Europe. So let's look at Dofus. Even if we look at the key art of it, this looks very cartoony to me. I wouldn't say it looks very anime-ish. I would say just it looks cartoony in general, but I wouldn't necessarily like call this very Japanese. Wakfu is another story. Wakfu, but we're not here to talk about Wakfu. We're talking here about Dofus. If we look at some of the key art, I wish I could make this a little bigger and more centered. Let me see if I go in here. Except all. I don't know if you guys could see that very clearly. Zoom in a little bit. Like these characters, they don't speak anime to me. Yeah, sure, I could see some anime influences, but I see a lot of influences of a lot of things. They're definitely cartoony characters. They're stylized characters. I see Western influence. I see European influences and Japanese, Eastern influence. But I wouldn't necessarily call Dofus an anime game. Even if we go back to Dofus, how it originally looked like, and you guys are going to be surprised about this. Right? The original art direction of Dofus were these characters here. Here, let's look at more examples because it looked very, very rough. Dofus Retro, IOP. Look at these guys. This is the original vision of Dofus right here. Like this is so far from anime. Like I don't know why. I don't see it. So So this new art direction, which is in art direction, it's not like a technical limitation or technical thing they're doing with Dofus Unity. Some of these pictures, I don't know, that's oh, maybe I should add some music here, but there's no music, right? Even like the sprites, they were so simple. Dofus retro sprites. What do we get? What did we get? Dofus retro. Let's go back to the Yop. Can we look at a Yop sprite? Look at these sprites for these guys here. This is the original iteration of Dofus here. Simple, flat color. There's no definition at all. All right? Simple. I would describe Dofus, or at least this artistic direction or art style, as very simplistic, right? So when I go back to Dofus Unity, I do see these characters and these designs as an extension of the original vision of Dofus here, right? There's so many things I could talk about here, right? But yeah, so the Dofus at its time, it still looked beautiful game, but it had a very simplistic art style in its direction. Right? Look at these buildings here, just all blocky. It was a simple looking game. I still thought it was beautiful back then. I still think it's a good art direction. And it got better, right? When they upgraded to 2.0, they polished a lot of things. They gave a lot of things definition. And it did go heavily into a more anime-ish style. Dofus, let's look at 2.0. Dofus 2.0. Let me see what we're looking at, right? Especially with the key art. It became a lot more rendered and a lot more polished, but I still wouldn't call this anime. This is definitely not anime character proportions. This has a lot of Western influence and a lot of European influence. When I describe Dofus to other people, it's like, yeah, you should check it out. It's got this cool European artistic flair to it. I've never described Dofus as an anime game at all. And again, this is from my personal experience, and these are my personal opinions, right? If you look at the Unitroph, this is not anime, guys. Look at the original Unitroph. This is cartoony AF. This is a cartoon character, right? It got a lot more polished with 2.0, right? This is not anime. It's not anime. It's very graphic. It's very toon-like. So this is why I wouldn't describe Dofus as an anime, and because it never was, right? It's European. It's made by French-based artists. Sure, it does have anime influences, and we could talk about one of the prominent artists at Ankama, especially when they were transitioning to the 2.0 art style, and his name was Sa, right? So this is a big reason why a lot of characters look like they do in 2.0, right? They took a lot of influence from this specific artist. And his art, is very cute. It's chibi, but I wouldn't necessarily pin it as anime. Because if we look at anime characters have a very Japanese distinct look to them. Like these are Japanese anime characters. This is anime-ish, but I wouldn't say this is very Japanese. So 2.0 has a lot of influences from this particular artist here. So from what I've seen, this artist is no longer with the company. He moved on, right? People, at the end of the day, people work on Dofus. People are people. People, they don't want to do the same thing over and over. Some people just want to move on, try different new things, work on different things. But it was obvious that 2.0 and those characters took a lot of inspiration. He probably did a lot of the character design. Obviously, he did a lot of the key art. If we type in his name with Dofus, I'm sure we could see some of the stuff he worked on, right? Especially like the gods, stuff like that. But if you look at his proportions, he has a very distinct style where, especially his female characters, they're very bottom heavy, right? Big butt, big thighs, big calves, right? So a lot of this inspiration, it is in the sprites. Dofus 2.0. Oh, sprites. Right? Where you can see the big feet and the big calves. So this they're definitely influenced by this particular artist here. So this artist is no longer with the company. And what happens when it happens, right? They got to find new people to replace the old people who move on. Man, some of this art so here we go. This is perfect. This is perfect. So they got the baggy pants flaring out. But one commonality you see is like, look how small the chest is. That's a tiny chest compared to like the calves and stuff like that. You know who else draws like this? It's another famous artist, which I know this channel is not it's not a creative artistic channel. So you might not know his name, but his name is Chris Sanders. You might have seen his movie though. So Chris Sanders is a Disney artist, and he is very well known for Lilo and Stitch. And if you've seen Lilo and Stitch, you'll see a lot of this influence where the female characters are very bottom heavy, right? Like big calves, big thighs. Let's see, Lilo and Stitch. Some of the characters. Let me see. What can we see? Chris Sanders, Lilo and Stitch. Can we see some of the characters here? I forget what the sister's called. But I'm sure you can see, let me see if I type in his character design. This is a very different video, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of wild off-topic video. Hit the like if you are. This is different. I mean, it's the kind of content I want to see. So you can see how Sasa saw. He has some influence from this guy here. There we go. See, she looks like a Sadida. She looks like a Sadida. So this is how this particular guy draws his female characters. And I'm sure Sasa took some inspiration from it. So this is why I say Dofus it's not anime, right? It's anime inspired, but it does have Western influences. It has European influences. It has Japanese influences, right? But I wouldn't pin it as strictly an anime game, just because it's a mishmash of a whole lot of things, and that's what makes it awesome. This is why I gravitated towards it, because it had this like very like European flair to it. And that's what grabbed my attention. So if we go back to the Dofus Unity, I think these new character designs are definitely leaning more in that old direction where the characters were simple and more softer looking and more like slender looking. And there's various reasons why they might have done this too. But overall, I do see a lot of people talking about how this is a downgrade. And again, they're entitled to their opinion. But I definitely don't feel that way. I think it's an evolution of the Ankama art style, definitely. And yes, they are moving away from the anime-ish inspiration and into this more kind of like a softer look for the characters. And one of the reasons that I explained was like maybe the artists move on. All right, the artists move on. People come in, bring their own stylization and their own kind of characters to like their drawings and stuff like that. So overall, it's a natural kind of thing where like, the art changes over time. Another reason might be is like people get bored of stuff, right? There are people working on this game and maybe they just want to, they want characters, they want them to make them look different. Simple as that. Like, we're up. They're changing the game to a new engine. You know what? Let's draw these characters in a different way. We've been drawing them like this for the better half of like 10 years. Let's mix it up, right? This has nothing to do with the technicalities of it going into Unity. This has nothing to do with like Unity can't render anime style related things. No, this was purely a design choice. Not connected to the technical aspects of Unity. Like I said, whoever's in charge, our director, brand manager, I don't know, it's like, let's make that let's make the game look different. And this is a huge plus for a lot of things too, right? This feels fresh. It makes the game feel new. It makes the game feel different. What they're doing for Unity is a huge, massive upgrade. If you guys listen to my video on why Dofus Touch exists, they're pretty much doing what they did for Dofus Touch, but not for PC Dofus, right? They're migrating the game off of Flash, off of ActionScript, into C++ and a new engine, right? Where they could take advantage of an optimized engine that's built to run games. So another thing, if you look at this too, these characters are very similar to how the characters in Wakfu are built. And that's because we're in this new engine, it allows them to kind of share a lot of parts. And we'll talk about why not only what was this driven by our artistic decision to just make the characters look different, but also there might be some functionality aspects of it as well. And I think we saw an image here. If we go back here, Dofus Unity, where's that image I saw? I saw an image of a head being broken apart. Let me see if I can find it here. Dofus Unity, let's see. Let's type in characters. Here we go. Right, look at this level of customization you're going to be able to have with your character. So another thing, another critique I've been seeing is like how these characters are downgraded. They look simple. They look worse than previously before. And again, they're entitled to their opinion. I felt the same way with Wakfu. Personally, I'm not into anime or chibi style, so I never connected with the Wakfu artistic direction, and that's fine. But a lot of people are saying these are simple characters and they're missing a lot of character. And I personally have a hard disagree with that. I think they kept what makes the characters, right? For me, the Yop, right? The Yop is a dude with a cross on his chest and with the Goku hair, right? You show me this character, instantly I'm like, that's a Yop, right? Feka is kind of like this kind of nomadic character with like a simple kind of clothing, right? He looks like a regular person. That's a Feka, right? I think they transitioned the essence of the characters perfectly. I could see this right off the bat. That's an Osamodas. This rugged looking character with the headband, that's a Sacrier. Green hairy dude, Sadida. So I think they did an amazing job in transitioning these characters into a different art direction. This is cool. I love seeing this when they take other characters into when they kind of like transform other characters into that looks like a Foggernaut to me, right? Does it have the baggy pants? No, right? The baggy pants don't define the Foggernaut, at least not to me. For me, it's like the steampunk look. This looks like a very steampunkish character, regardless if it has baggy pants or not. But even going a little bit further, right? A lot of people are complaining these characters look simple and stuff like that. And you got to keep in mind, these characters are meant to be dressed up, customized, and personalized. One of my favorite things about Dofus is having levels of not just Dofus, of games, right? Having such a level of customization where I can make a character exactly how I want it to be and not have other people have the same character, right? One of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody looks the same as me. I'm like, oh, shoot, right? And right now with Dofus, really, you could put a hat and a cape, and that's about it, right? For the most part, that's pretty much the gist of it, right? But they're building this character in such a way where you could customize a lot of aspects of it. And I think this is what people are overlooking, right? These characters here, this lineup that Ankama has shown, these are the base characters, right? You're supposed to go in there and customize them. You're supposed to dress them up, equip them, right? They're not intended to stay like this. This is like them when you're starting the game, right? But look at this level of customization you're gonna have. From just one head, You could put hair on them. You could put a hood on them. You put a bandana, eye patch, put a mask on them. This is going to be insane. The level of customization you're going to be able to do with your character. So I think people got to keep in mind, an open mind, that these characters are not beholden to look like this, right? These characters are supposed to be avatars that you're supposed to customize and personalize. These are not unique characters. These are not main characters. Like, the Feka only has to look like this, right? It's not Osamoda's if she doesn't have a little hat and this little skirt, right? No, like I like this direction because this is able to expand of what it means to be, you know, a Osamoda and Dofus, right? Look at this, looks like a, you know, regular Yop, but also look, this armored guy looks like a Yop too, right? These right off the bat, they're Ennies. To me, they're Ennies. Like, I have no confusion at all. It's like, oh, they're Ennie people, right? So I think they kept a lot of essence of what makes the characters the characters. And this is why I feel very confident in this art direction. Like, I think they did a fantastic job. Even they kept the skeleton dude, but you know, even this dude, he looks like a Saram. Even though, you know, I've never seen a Saram with like their flesh, or a female Saram with like the skeleton. I could literally, it took me a second to identify those. Those are Saram people. These are Sadida people, right? But I do get it, right? Right? Some people might be fan of just the anime style in general. But I think people are wrong that saying that it's a downgrade. Because technically it's not. Technically it's an art direction, right? You know, this happens a lot. This is very common. Let's look at Mario, right? Mario. Right? This is Mario. This is regular Mario, right? Red. But what makes Mario, right, is the red, blue, and a mustache. This is Mario in the movie. Oh, he doesn't really look like this, right? It looks different. Is that a downgrade? No, it's just a different art direction, right? This Mario is in a more kind of render realistic world. So he has to look like that, right? If you just stick this Mario in to this movie here, it just doesn't work. It just does not work. And let's look at, you know, let's take it to the extreme. Let's look at Paper Mario, right? This is Mario. Can modern game consoles, well, what happened? Can modern game consoles not run Mario? What happened? No, this is an artistic choice in the art direction, right? In this world, this is what Mario looks like. Right, all the characters look like that. So you have to make that accommodation to the art direction as well as the overall encompassing vision of the game and the branding too. So just because Mario doesn't look like this, I mean, it's not because of any technicalities or any, because like where was this on? The Switch can't run Mario, so they made him look like, no. This is an artistic choice they made. Right, and then let's look at Mario and Smash Brothers. Right, in this world, this is what Mario looks like, right? He's a little bit more rendered. You can see all the stitching on the clothes. That's because this world, this calls for this type of Mario, right? So it's not so much of a downgrade. It's just a different art direction. And I do want to explain that to people because a lot of people are getting confused. That because, you know, they're Unity, they can't do this anime style. No, they literally decided we don't want to draw the characters like this anymore, right? We want to fit more into the world we're making. And to be honest, the world looks closer to this new style. If we look at Dofus 2.0, a lot of it has a lot of soft shading to it. Let me see if I can find a map. Dofus. Dofus Unity, because I know they've been doing this for a while too. They've been slowly integrating these kind of character proportions for like NPCs, and and this kind of brings me around to the topic of touch. Uh, the new Abera update, the NPCs characters look like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this if we see this transition as well on Dofus Touch, because we can't, yeah, because a lot of the assets are going to be like this now. So I do, if I were to bet my money, I do see Dofus Touch going in this direction as well. When, I don't know, but I think overall the company is kind of unifying the artistic direction of a lot of games. If we look at Waven, a lot of people have been comparing, oh, because Waven looks like this. Waven does not look like that. No, Waven characters are it's a different art style. This is more, how do I explain this? Waven characters are not, I don't know how people are confusing the two. Because these characters do not look like that. Waven characters are like in between the anime and this kind of soft shading style. But look at that. That is so cool. These definitely have a lot more kind of like bulkiness to them. They're kind of like the Waven character design. As opposed to like this Unity look where it's a little bit more like sleek looking. It's a little bit more chibi here. They definitely have a big head. Her head is bigger than her chest here. So these are different art directions. It's not because Wavens looks like this. It's like, no, it's like you guys got to understand, like different teams work with different art directors. They work with different artists. You know, somebody dictates the art direction of the game, and all the artists kind of have to follow it. Look at this. This is Seller. He's a big, bulky man. So I personally, I love what they've been doing with all their games across the board with art direction. I think the art, you know, I said this on Twitter. You know, Uncommons a lot of things. You know, they're not perfect, but when it comes to art direction and just like the art portion or the art element or the projects, they kill it. They are masters of this. Like I look at this character here and I could immediately tell you this is not a Dofus Unity character. It has a very distinct kind of look to it. This is not a Dofus Unity character, right? You could tell it comes from like a different world, a different universe. But but this is not a Dofus Unity. This is not a Dofus 2.0 character either. It just doesn't match up. If you put them side by side, they just can't live in the same world. Is this a Sacrier? Look at this Sacrier. It looks badass. Badass. I don't know, guys. I just thought I'd make this video because it's getting a lot of flack, and one thing I do find admirable about Nakama is their art and artists and their art direction. So you know, I just want to kind of ease people a little bit. You know, shoot, I mean, I wish I could meet their artists and get some stuff signed by them. So they do an amazing job, and I hate to have seen like their art just being, you know, kind of getting bashed a little bit, especially as a downgrade, because it's not. It's a different art direction. They decided to, you know, make the characters look different, and for the better, right? This is gonna allow you to customize your character in a lot of ways you can't before. What you're seeing here, these are base naked characters. I think they should show a character what it looks like, like once it's fully equipped and customized, and they have a little bit, but I think people are really caught up on details and not the overall vision of the game. Is it perfect? No, definitely it's not perfect, right? Some of the complaints are valid, but a lot of the hate is unjustified, and I think a lot of it's just lack of awareness and a lack of understanding of what it takes to make a game, how a game is made, how art takes part into game and the artist, right? Like I said, like art directions change all the time. It's just because artists, they want to work on cool, exciting things too, right? Just imagine you working on the same thing for like 10 years. It's like you get bored, you move on, right? And that's probably what happened. Kama wanted to, especially when they're coming into a new engine. One thing that surprises me is that they're not calling it 3.0, which is kind of weird because they did that when it went from the retro kind of look to the 2.0 more anime-ish look. They called it 2.0. So actually 2.0. Actually, you know what? Yeah, like this is anime AF, Genshin Impact. Like this is anime. Like imagine if like the Any looked like this. Like I'd be like, okay, that's Dofus is an anime game, but no, this is like hardcore anime right here. But if you look at Dofus 2.0 characters, let's not look at the key art. Yeah, this is a good image right here. Future overhaul. But yeah, I mean, it's coming a long way. It's definitely coming a long way. But look how simple the initial. Even these like anime-ish characters. A lot of people say it's like, oh, they're missing a lot of detail. Like, no, they're not. They're really not. They're definitely a lot more rendered, right? These guys only had like little eyes, little dashes for eyes and stuff like that. But yeah, even when they transition to like this rough kind of rudimentary art style, they kept a lot of the same elements. Like the characters, they're simple characters. They're not Genshin Impact characters where they have like belt buckles and zippers and emblems and crazy hair and stuff like. No, they've always been simple characters. If you look at the top here, the top row is very reminiscent of this new art direction. Very reminiscent. So for me, I see the new Unity stuff, and I see it as an evolution. I don't see it as a downgrade at all. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit less anime-ish, which I think people are tripping over that. But do you guys see that? This Sakura didn't even have its white eyes here. Were people complaining about that back in the day? So, I mean, people got to understand. MMO, the whole point of MMO is to keep you interested and hook. And for that to happen, the game's got to change. It's got to evolve, right? You don't want things to change? Go play retro. But you won't. You won't, right? So I think people like to complain, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? If you're really caught up on small details and how stuff is changing, why aren't you playing retro? Why aren't you playing retro? Right? That's literally the whole point of retro. Why aren't you there? And for me, personally, I understand that MMOs change is a part of the game. It's inevitable. It's change. It happens. It's part of the life cycle of the game. And not even that. Change is innate to MMOs. And I don't understand why people have such a hard time understanding that. MMOs are living, breathing games. And they change based on circumstance, based on people working on them, based on the times. They change based on a lot of factors. And the expectation for them to stay the same, I think it's ludicrous. Go play single player games. Go play a game on that gets shipped, and once it's shipped, the developer has no access to it. Right? Like old school games, right? Once the game's shipped, there you go. You get what you get. So, yeah, folks. So, yeah. So, I mean, I would if this comes to touch, I would welcome it. If the characters stay the same, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the characters. I do like how they do look a little bit more sleek. I do. I definitely do like how they look a little bit more aged up. Um, so I do appreciate that. But at the same time, if Dofus Touch stays like this, I don't have a problem with it. Like I enjoy Dofus. Like I said, I'm a fan of Dofus, and I'm a fan of Ankama. I'm a fan of their our, of the artistic choices. Because yeah, if you look, because Ankama is like a transmedia company. It started off with Dofus, but like they do games, they do animations, they do comics, and it's all done by wonderful, like, world class artists. Let's see let me see what we find here. They got board games. They do other mobile games, animations, publications. The same guy who made Monster Slaughter probably works on Dofus, right? And he probably brings some of his artistic style and his persona to Dofus, right? He probably works on some of the creatures. People who work on Nindash work on Dofus, right? Dofus doesn't look like this. But this guy's probably working on some of the stuff, and a little bit of influence gets thrown in there, right? This is like super chibi. I don't know what happened there. The guy who works on Radiant, he probably works on Dofus, right? You got all this mishmash of people, mishmash of personalities working on the game. So, which is a good thing, right? Which is a good thing. Because you want consistency across the board. You want different people to bring different things to the table, right? It's all good. At the end of the day, it's all good. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see how these characters animate. I can't wait to see how they are going to be customized. One thing I do love about Waven is like how they really broke the mode of what it meant to be a race. Waven, let's look at Cross. Right? And Waven, they have 5 different claw variants. They all look very different from each other. But they all are Cross, right? Like I could look at them, it's like, oh, is that a Craw? That looks like a Craw. That looks like a Craw. But look how different they look from each other. Oh, there's another. Why do you keep taking me to videos? I don't know. So I love what they did here. Like that's a Craw. That's a Craw, right? It's not bound to just looking like this. But just because it doesn't look like this, it doesn't mean it's not a Craw. So I can't wait. I can't wait for people to take these characters and just customize them to the point where like it just looks so different. But you still could identify it, right? You can still identify it as an allotrope, as a Ujinak, as a seller, right? No matter what kind of crazy customization they do, you can still read it as a seller at the end of the day. So that is it, folks. Let me see, how long is this video? This video is 38 minutes or 40 minutes. I hope you guys enjoy. Again, it's a little bit off topic, but it is, something I'm passionate about, because one thing that I did gravitate towards was the art direction of the game. When I saw the art on Dofus, even back then, when it was this like simple little color blocks, I was like, whoa, that looked, at the time when I saw Dofus, we'll call it retro. It wasn't called Dofus Retro back then, but this Dofus retro aesthetic, like this blew my mind in like 2007, when the game looked like that blew my mind. And I think it's only gotten better. It's only gotten better. Yes, they are moving away from the kind of anime-ish style, but I still think it's an evolution of the initial vision of the game, and I'm hype about it. when I saw these characters, I was enamored by them. I was like, oh my god, they look amazing. I still think they look cool. Are they perfect? No, no, they're not perfect. I still think these guys look cool. But yeah, I'll welcome it. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to convince people to like this because people are entitled to their opinions. But also, I kind of want to give a little bit of context because I could relate. Because when Wakfu came out, I hated what they did to the Saram. It went from like this cool, like edgy skeleton man to like a guy in a suit. Like you could very clearly see as a guy in like this like one piece. And that was just all lame. This is lame. This was lame. And I didn't like the seller either. They made the seller into this weird like android thing. I hated this design. So I get it. I get it. And the Foggernaut, they made him into like a robot, right? Yeah, they made him into like this like twig robot. Yeah, they were so weird, but also like another thing. Speaking of Wakfu too, like all these characters have the same proportions too, like unified proportions too, and that's because like a reason for that too, a reason why they look like this, barring like just artistic direction, is why some of the characters don't have like the baggy pants and stuff like that. It's because it's easier for them to like share animations. It's easier for production to work with them when you can animate one right. One thing that's they do in Wakfu is like they sell emotes, animated emotes. I forget what they call them, but it's very obvious. Like they share the characters. They have a skeleton where you just have to animate it once, and it fits perfectly on all the characters. One of my biggest pet peeves on Dofus is when these characters. It's awesome they look different, but also we got to think about like the functionality and the technical aspect of it. Is when I buy a cosmetic, right? It looks fine, say on a Sakurai, but when I put it on my Saram, it's like floating or it's like off to the side somewhere. Just because they should compensate for like those variables, but again, if you can reduce the amount of work you've got to put in, the better it is overall, just production wise. But I hate it when I buy a cosmetic and it just doesn't line up with my character. So that's part of the reason why their head sizes are kind of the same, their arms are kind of the same, their legs are kind of the same, their feet are kind of the same. Right, these new characters here. All right. So when you do customize a piece, right, you're gonna make sure it fits on the characters. No matter what character, right? You buy one piece of equipment, no matter if you have an illutrope or a seller, it's gonna look right, and it's good. But most importantly, it's gonna animate right because they're all kind of uniform, and that's something they did with Wakfu. Where was that image at? Did I click off of it? Wafu, all the characters look like these dolls, right? Even the Unitrov, they all look like those. Yeah, see, they're very doll-like. So, like I said, I get it. I get it that people are kind of like, attached to the way these characters look like, but yeah, I mean, part of the journey is kind of like pushing boundaries, pushing what it means to do things and going beyond limitations, right? It's like just because people are used to seeing Foggernaut like this with baggy pants and like these big like forearms, stuff like that, doesn't mean a Foggernaut can't look another way, right? Because at the end of the day, these are supposed to be like racist, a representation of a race in this world, not necessarily a main character. If this was a main character, right? If this was like for example, let's take and Rudo, right? Naruto is the main character, right? If you change some aspects of it, he stops being Naruto, right? Even when they did like the upgrade with his clothes, he still more or less looks the same, right? They didn't do anything crazy with him or anything that's gonna push the character design beyond his like identifiable silhouette and his elements. No, but that's because he's the main character, right? So you got to be a little bit more conscious with the updates you do to it. But we're talking about like this is supposed to represent a citizen in the world. So obviously in the real world, not everybody is gonna look the same, and especially now that we have the technology and the capability, right, to make just a character creator just crazy. And if you can make everybody look unique as possible, even better. It's gonna make the world feel more alive, make it feel more personalized and more real. So that is it, folks. That is my 2 cents. Oh, look at this. Okay. Like I wasn't feeling this whole whack food thing here. It's so crazy. So it's so crazy that they did that. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective, folks. It's all subjective. Um, yeah, you're free to criticize. You're free to critique. Nothing wrong with it. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with this anime-ish style. There was nothing wrong with this retro look either. It has its own charm to it. It's all good. It's all good. But I just wanted to put out there that just give it a chance. Just give it a chance. You can hate on it. It's okay, but give it a chance. Wait till you see it in game. Wait till you see how it all comes together. So, all right, folks, I think we are approaching 45 minutes. Not too bad of me just rambling here with you guys. This has been Challenger EX. Until next time, take care of yourself and peace.